We want to have people that are embodiment of these 10 core values.
Bringing enthusiasm is the next core value on the list. Stay humble for us is 10 together is really something that resonates.
As far as the dream big,
Ownership, discipline,
integrity above all,
What does growth
mindset mean to you guys? What does drive innovation mean to you? How do you deliver happiness? If I can stand up here and make stuff up and say it, so can you guys. So the definition that I heard recently that I absolutely loved is core values is what tells you what to do when you don't know what to do. So it's like if we're going to do the house building analogy, we all have to have the same blueprint. The core values is our blueprint. We'll go ahead and begin. So the first core value that we put down is deliver happiness. When we shift our focus with regards to our jobs, to delivering happiness to the drivers, delivering happiness to customers, to each other, it'll help us, have an advantage over our competition because most people are not thinking of it, along those terms. So how do you deliver happiness within your role?
In my role as a customer service agent in Royal Blue Services, I think it's mostly showing compassion, kindness, and being friendly in my role.
Honestly, I think just taking a few seconds before picking up the call to put a smile on your face. It doesn't have to be like the forced energy, but the person on the other line will just feel you radiating, that you're actually willing to listen to them, you're willing to help out, and you're actually there.
What do you think it does to a driver's day when you come in with the high energy versus if you called and said, hey, this is Aldine, I'm calling to see if you've arrived to the pickup?
I like to think that they'll think, oh, this is actually my teammate, this is someone that I can rely to, someone I can talk to.
It makes them happier. I mean, you're gonna brighten someone's day a little bit, 1%, when you come in sounding like you're happy to be on the phone with them. It's not about sounding ditzy on the phone or like you're clueless of the situation, but sounding like you're happy to be on the phone with them and that you're happy to be the one that is, gonna try to help them out.
Make it turn it into a task, into something that sounds like a reward in some type of way.
How do you deliver happiness to a driver who you got to call and say, hey, you didn't get the POD signed properly, you got to go back 200 miles to get this signature, otherwise the customer's not going to pay?
Maybe sympathize with them and I know that this is it's not going to be an easy task, but this is what we need to do in order for you to accomplish this, for us to get paid. In a sense, but that tone and the words you choose to use, I think you can accomplish any task.
The reason I asked that specifically is because it's easy to think of how to deliver happiness when you're doing easy stuff. But here's the thing, guys. It's not about making that person happy with that news you're going to give them, right? Because sometimes it's just impossible to give that news, right? If a doctor is telling somebody that their loved ones died during the surgery, there's no way for them to deliver happiness. But there is a way for them to deliver that news in a way that will be with sympathy, that'll be with care, that'll be with compassion, and that person will feel like they have a friend in that doctor. So the idea is every situation you're dealing with, you should, in the back of your mind, and you should actively be thinking about, is there a better way for me to deliver this, handle this, to say this, that will get the most optimal outcome for the other side?
So the bring enthusiasm is the next core value on the list. Enthusiasm is always a positive word. It's never a negative word. And enthusiasm will always defeat the negativity, the dark clouds in the office, the dark energy on the call, the dark relationship with the customer or something that we have. And what I've noticed, just to tackle that, what I've noticed that sometimes we have preconceived notions, let's say, towards drivers or customers because of the experiences that we had before. And kind of like this core value is important for me because I feel that we have a giant space for progress just with this one if we would turn those negative emotions or feedbacks into a positive ones or try to better those relationships by just being that positive vibe, just being that whole positive stream, I would say, towards everyone, towards drivers and customers, in order for us to overcome any negativity. Example from day to day, and I want to tackle this right now, is that we sometimes stand up and say, I've been the victim of that as well, because everyone is weak when it comes to individual frustrations. And we say, oh man, this driver, we're bringing negativity instead of transforming challenges into opportunities, or that negative energy into opportunity of maybe working with him for a better relationship, understanding him. The fruits of enthusiasm is always one, better working environment that we all work in, better relationship with customers, improving relationship with our drivers, and overall happiness. So when you come to the office, just understand that your level of energy that you're bringing will affect others as well, and will affect drivers, will affect customers. If we behave in a certain way while at work, we can expect to have a more peaceful and happier just private life as well. Do you guys remember ever where you set a tone of a call by being positive, enthusiastic, and that affected the outcome of the call? Any ideas?
Few nights ago, I was speaking with William. He was having a trouble at the delivery, and he said, you know what, I remember when you first came 1 year ago, and I had a specific call. He was stuck, I think, in Virginia. I'm just gonna guess. He was stuck for a while, and I remember just, it was like one of my first loads, and I was so eager to book him, and I was very enthusiastic, and I was just calling him all the time, offering him everything. And when we spoke a few nights ago, he said, I still remember that call, and it still like bring a smile to my face, just to hear your voice, to hear how much you're trying to get me booked. And I think that it doesn't only just change the outcome of that call, but it actually changes the driver's whole perspective so much that it actually year and some months after, he still remembers that load and the energy and everything.
So stay humble. For us, it's really important. Why be humble? Because we're Royal Blue Services. What is a service? You cannot have a service unless you have ability to have that fundamental value in you. $1 customer for us has to be the same as $1 million customer. In reality, it's not, because the one is paying the bills and the another one is just coming in every now and then. But if we consider it like that, we're gonna lose a lot of customers. So we have to be humble and respect those that are $1 customers the same as we respect those $1 million customers. In day-to-day job, being humble, has that ever helped you guys personally to better direct a call, to better resolve a situation, to book a load maybe? Has that ever helped you? Do you have any ideas maybe?
In this case, I like to flip it the other way around of, for example, how would I like to be treated by someone who is way above me?
So there are many examples of big personalities, successful companies where CEOs and owners would come down and work as one of employees just to have that culture going.
I got a flat tire earlier, past 2 weeks. I mean, it's been a challenge. It's my first tire I've been replacing and stuff like that. And this morning, actually, I had some really tough time getting towards here, especially considering the road conditions and there's so much ice on the road, so much ice on the car. And I remember cleaning my car this morning, actually, and then thinking, I can't imagine, some of our drivers in Memphis, some of our drivers in Missouri, all those northern areas. I legit thought to myself, I really couldn't do this every single day and keep driving for hundreds of miles in one go. And to be honest, it got me thinking and it got me back to some situations where I was inconsiderate of the conditions on the road and of the drivers. It really got me thinking, and it kind of humbled me.
When you're being arrogant, I believe it raises the bar, and you can definitely raise the bar too high. If you're staying humble, and let's say you make a mistake, it can be forgiven. If you're arrogant, it's never gonna be forgiven. No one's gonna, no one's gonna say, hey, this guy, he stayed humble. It can happen to anyone. If you're arrogant, no one's gonna expect you to fail, to make a mistake or anything like that. So I think it helps us as well.
Reception to feedback is the other area where, being humble is a necessity. Just understanding that just because you've done something for a year, there's people out there that have done some version of that for 50 years. If I had to rate myself as a company owner, as a entrepreneur, I would give myself a 2 or 3 out of 10. Because if I choose to compare myself with Joe down the street, I can maybe give myself a 8, 9, or even a 10 if I really want to find the right comparison. But if I choose to compare myself with the absolute highest achievers in these various fields, then how can I say I am a 10 and Steve Jobs is a 10 as well, or whoever, right? I can't.
Take ownership, number 4, our fourth core value here. What does this mean? This means that when a problem hits the start button, the person who takes charge of that problem is the one that hits the end button. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that the person who takes over the problem sees through the whole process of resolving the problem. They ensure that at the end, the targeted party, often being the customer in our case, is satisfied with the solution that we proposed. A person who's seeing through the full process of resolving a problem is the one that has to come up with initiative, is a person that has to assume full responsibility and understand that the final outcome, that it is their responsibility whether the outcome is a success or a failure. It falls on their shoulder. I'm going to give you a few examples. We have a driver who's running late, right? We have this situation, especially now in winter season. What are the actions that we take? We inform the customer, we check with the driver, we determine the severity of the situation, we generate some estimate that we can go by, we determine action plan that we're going to execute moving forward. We go to the customer, we present everything we have gathered. If there is a need to recover, or if there is a need to reset the appointment, we do that, right? We make sure that we bring the whole process to its final position. Another thing is also with the breakdowns, for example, if a unit is broken down, we never went in with the position of saying, we broke down, right? We have a problem, we cannot keep moving forward. We always went in with the position of proposing a solution, proposing a recovery, making sure that we take everything that's in our power to keep the freight moving.
As dispatchers, every day we unfortunately have some high LAs to deal with. Less and less now that things are picking up, right? There are some outliers, but while we do try to minimize them, they do happen in a bad region, in a bad day, in the bad weather. Something does happen, but taking ownership of the situation and finding a strategy out of it and avoiding the strategy into it, it's always on us to take ownership of that and move forward with something else. And giving a call to the driver, no matter how tough, no matter how rough, no matter how difficult, it's your job to do it and to do it professionally and move on to the next thing.
Taking ownership in its right way, in its right approach, builds trust. It builds trust between us and our customers. It builds trust between us and our drivers. It doesn't only make BHX Logistics a great logistics provider, it actually makes us a very dependable partner to every stakeholder out there.
One thing to keep in mind is when talking to an outside party, so a driver, a customer, to them, there is no Haris, Hafsa, Aldin, Munir. There is BHX. So you pointing out, well, I had nothing to do with this, does zero good, because they're going to say, well, I don't care if you didn't have to do with it. You're part of that company. So innovation to me, it's asking why do we do this on every process we have. It's questioning why do we do it, because that's how you identify outdated processes. And then it's asking how can we do this better, right? And then that's how you change those outdated processes. When you evaluate every process from those, from that lens, you're going to identify things that we can take out. You're going to identify things that we can upgrade, and then you're going to identify brand new ideas that don't even exist. So take the ideas as far as you can. Now, if we as a company take that approach, then the growth in this field is just limitless, because very few companies have this as a company cultural thing. Most other companies, in my experience, say, hey, you're hired to do Canada's, shut up and do Canada's. Don't, you're not hired to sit there and to brainstorm things. Our innovation, started with an idea of, hey, let's build a template for bidding instead of typing out a bid every single time. As Mahir and Vedad and Munir can tell you when other carriers bid, it's just like an email saying, I have a vehicle this far out. So we started with, let's build a template that we can copy and paste into the email. And then we said, well, what if we also make it automatically fill this out? And what if we did this? And what if we did this, right? And in a relatively short amount of time, a couple of years, we have an app that is available to every driver who wants to use it, who wants to work for us, that makes your guys' jobs 100 times easier. Growth mindset. What does growth mindset mean to you guys?
Having that outlook every day being better than you were yesterday, using whatever resources, and techniques you can use to be a better version of yourself than the one you were yesterday.
Mine is a bit more blunt. It's just don't be boring. Okay. Because if you're stuck in one particular mindset, it's gonna grow old very fast, and you're gonna be stuck in. There's not gonna be any innovation. There's not gonna be any growth. So just don't be boring.
So growth to me is just like being proud of who I am now, who I was, and how much I've been better.
For me, it would be growth mindset. I would just think of it as continuously improving, looking for ways to get better.
What it always comes back to me, for me, is there's people that have done this before us. There's people that have been entrepreneurs. There's people that have been, customer service reps and gurus, and they've spent all their life in this field. And now they wrote a book, and another one that did it a different way wrote a book, and another one, that did it a different way wrote a book. So instead of me spending the next 50 years of my life figuring it out with trial and error, let me pick up the knowledge that these giants have left behind. And then, I can propel that growth.
Stand together is really something that resonates. Last Saturday, Aldi and I were at the Colosseum, actually, in Rome. And I remember that gladiator scene when they're just in one circle, and the Maximus is saying, stand together, stay together, because if you find yourself riding alone, you're already in the fields of Elysium and you're already dead, right? That's how it is without any company, without teamwork. That's why we said whenever someone is new hired, we say that this company is based on and our fundaments are on teamwork. Now, we almost never had problems with people that were not able to follow that teamwork spirit, and that's a good thing to have. That really helps the general company culture. Some of you here and multiple people in the past have said that the way we set our culture when it comes to this helped them to actually learn the job, because there was always someone that is able to help. It's not like we're just a closed circle and everyone is afraid to teach you something because you might overtake them or whatnot in their positions. So it's everyone will share everything, because that's the core value of the company. Really exemplifies what we are and where we're going, and we're going there together, and we're not going there individually. And we've had opportunities in the past to divide tasks in a way that everyone would do everything, and we would have everyone, just be Suskaji, or from booking the load down to the problem, down to the Canada, down to everything. But that would disrupt the culture that we set. That would disrupt the teamwork. That would disrupt this stand together mentality. We really never wanted to do that, and hopefully we'll never will.
As far as the dream big, to me, is when we started off with one van, the thought of getting a second van was like the final boss. It doesn't get any bigger than that. And then the thought of getting somebody else to start driving for us was like, oh, okay, so there was another boss after the final boss, and we've conquered him as well. And then the thought of getting 10 vans was like, okay, so this game is just changing now because there's another boss after the 2 bosses that I beat, and so on, right? And now we're at 100, and the more success you have and the more you grow, the more you realize that the cap is actually much higher. It's not about getting to 200 vans anymore. You understand that there's levels and opportunities that are ahead of us that if we just dare to remove this glass ceiling that Bosna has placed on you guys, and just dare to dream beyond that, right? Because here, I feel like there's a limitation, a literal one, because there is more corruption than I have encountered in the US. There is more of a limited growth opportunity, and I think it affects everybody. I think that there's a perception of what I got is as good as it gets. Maybe it can get a little bit better, but there's no promotion of the American dream or the Bosnian equivalents of it. So, whether it's, your guys' individual aspirations to one day own your own company or be ahead of whatever, or us as a company, reflecting on our future where we dare to dream and to say, one day it's not about having 200 vans. It's about us being the XPO or RXO. It's about us having an enormous building in Sarajevo that has all the best amenities, and that's what it's about. It's not about just saying, well, right now we're in this building, maybe we can get one that's this, right? That's the process. That's how you get to the bigger thing, the bigger pay, the bigger building, the bigger job. But it all begins with having that mentality of this, like whatever I'm imagining now, it can actually get 10 times bigger. Does anyone else have anything to add on this?
Before I worked here, I had a very limited experience at a much smaller scale company doing this same work. It was all manual, everything becoming automated and on a larger scale every single day. Even the dreams get bigger. It's empowering, it's motivating, and it reminds me of the core and of the fundamental of the pursuit of happiness, of the rights. And it reminds me that the pursuit of happiness is happiness itself. And as we let our own light shine, we give others around us the permission to do the same.
From my perspective, dreaming big is all about figuring out that everyone who's at the top positions, having those huge companies, is not that really much more skilled than you are.
Just one thing I want to add really quick. We shouldn't be so bold to ever enforce our own dreams on someone else or tell someone that their dreams are not big enough. Maybe somebody is truly content with simply working at a bakery, for example, and just going home to their kids and whatever. And they don't have aspirations to one day get promoted and then go to a bigger bakery and then start their own thing and then this and that, right? And that's okay. And we all we can do is try to awaken the motivation and the inspiration and the dreams within somebody.
Discipline, one word that comes with a great depth. First thing that comes to mind when we say discipline is probably, there is a set of rules that we gotta follow. There is a set of ethical principles to stand by. Okay, that is one portion of what disciplined approach entails, but it's only one of the 3 pillars. I want to focus more on the other 2. What are they? So number 1, you gotta have a routine. What is a routine in relation to a disciplined approach? It is your everyday game plan as to what you do, how you do it, and what's the most efficient way that you identified in order to do it. Second thing, you want to maintain high quality standards in what you're doing in order to be successful. Now, if you follow this approach properly, and if you manage to identify and come up with the right and detailed strategy, this will ultimately result to the efficiency and success that you wanted to have in what you're doing. I'll conclude there. If anyone has comments or questions, we can go through right now.
There's no achieving dreams without discipline. There's no bringing innovation without being disciplined. There's everything that we spoke about up until now cannot be good, successful, meaningful if we're not disciplined in that and consistent. So it's a really important thing.
Motivation gets you to do like your goal to get that dream big achievement only a little bit, like 10%, but it's actually discipline that makes you reach that goal.
Mirko Krokop, famous K1 kickboxer, said, I'm going to do one push-up, but I'm going to do it right. If I do 10 push-ups wrong, I'm not going to count them at all. And that's also discipline.
Nice. Thank you. All good ones, guys. All good ones.
And he also said, right leg hospital, left leg cemetery.
And he delivered.
Yeah.
Just one thing to add to this, discipline in doing what you're supposed to do. The other element of this is we've spent a long time and put in a lot of work in cultivating a certain culture within our drivers, setting a bar, setting a standard. I promise you guys that there is no company out there whose drivers are more in line with the procedures and the policies. It doesn't exist. Integrity above all. We embody this every day. This is one that I feel like all we need to do is just continue to enforce it. It's not anything that we need to change. In 10 years, we've never been accused by a driver of stealing money. We've never been accused by a serious broker that we're lying to them. You know, we've messed up on loads. We've been late. We've had drivers get stuck somewhere. We've had drivers take cheap loads. But we've never had an actual accusation, you know, that we're doing anything shady. And, you know, that's one of the things I'm most proud of. We have had drivers out of their own desire to just insult us, throw out accusations that they themselves did not really believe in. And when pressed, you know, when pushed, they would admit, no, I don't really think you guys are doing that, you know, but it's fun to say, you know, you guys are doing X, Y, and Z. And our approach has been transparency with those people. Said, hey, man, come on into the office and I'll show you every document you need to see, if that's what'll make you happy. Or let's do a Zoom call, or I'll email you every single thing. But if you continue to defame us and if you continue to attack our character, this will be the last load you ever do. Right? And I stand by that. I will not allow any driver to ever slander anybody in this room, nor will I allow us to ever slander a driver, right? So that's part of integrity. Integrity above all, actually above everything else we just covered, integrity is what leads us.
This was a great session. Probably the best we had, like team building session, the best we had ever. When it comes to your guys' interaction and when it comes to you guys contributing, thank you so much for that.